probably. What is that blowing sound? Is that the fan or is that you breathing like a mongoloid? Which one is it? That's the fan. It's clearly the fan.
It is the fan.
Okay. Can you say mongoloid anymore?
I mean, it's a scientific term.
It is. Well,
right?
Pseudo-scientific. All right.
That's the lights.
Yeah. All right. Don't breathe for a second. In fact, just keep that going for a few minutes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like 3 or 4 minutes. Don't breathe. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it was the fan.
Podcast only gets better. Welcome to the Camo and Hooks podcast. This is Mike.
And this is Luke.
That was a good little dramatic pause. You like that?
Is he going to do it?
Oh my God. We are currently coming to you sweaty from the Camo and Hooks offices here. Mm-hmm. And we got some catching up to do.
Indeed.
Yeah, we've had some adventures. We're deep into hunting season now. We're into rifle season. Luke has been fishing as regular. Have we talked since you had that ridiculous 55 fish day or whatever it is you had?
I don't know if we talked about that, but we haven't talked since I caught a 7-pound bass.
Oh, that's like adult sized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like a baby.
What are you throwing out there to catch him with?
Man, I am all about just throwing soft plastics. Yeah. I know, lots of people get into crankbaits and spinner baits and all that kind of stuff, and I have that stuff, and I'll throw it occasionally. My previous personal best was on a frog, so I do throw that stuff, but for the most part, most of my success comes on soft plastics, throwing flukes and worms.
That's literally all I have in my kit. That's all I have.
I mean, especially as a starter, that's all you need, especially when you're pond jumping and bank fishing like we are. When you're stomping ashore, you're fishing places that are not very deep, so if you start throwing crankbaits, you're going to be pulling up a lot of grass. So might as well go with the soft plastics because you can rig them up on a Texas rig, and that's virtually weedless. I do manage to pull up plenty of weeds.
Of course you do.
On a weedless setup, but this particular one was on a watermelon red flake fluke.
Sounds delicious.
Mm-hmm. So it's a little fish-looking thing with a little split tail that wiggles while you throw it. I was supposed to go hunting on that day, and that fell through. Then I was supposed to go out on my buddy's boat, and that fell through. So I was like, I am still getting outside.
Sounds like you need some new buddies.
I do. It was 48 degrees and raining. And I went to a place that I found on Google Maps. Mm-hmm. I made sure there was no residents only signs or anything like that. So,
and if there were, you just kick them right over.
Sure. You just pretend like you don't see them. And so I went and I was fishing there, and I was reeling back in a cast, and I mean, it wasn't 6 feet from the shore. I thought I'd hung up on a branch.
Right.
And
it normally doesn't pull back on me this hard.
Yeah. And I saw the fish kind of come to the surface. I was like, oh, God dang, that's a fish. And I just started backing up. So that's a bank fishing tip there for you. When you get a fish on, right, don't reel down and then try to go walk to it right there at the bank. Uh-huh. Pull that sucker back and drag him up on the bank a little bit, because when you go to bend down to pick up that fish right there at the shore, you're going to let tension off your rod, and if you let tension off the rod and off the line, that's when the fish can shake off.
He's going to skitter loose.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So if you pull him up on the
And plus there's less
shore,
chance of you slipping and busting ass the further away from the bank you are.
falling face first into the water. So you drag him up on the bank a little bit, and that gives you much more of an advantage of actually
now with a 7-pound bass, you have to get it up on the shore, and then I would imagine apply like a triangle choke or something.
Yeah, definitely.
You gotta ground and pound a little bit.
Yeah.
You gotta choke him out.
You gotta get on him. But that was pretty cool. I was pretty excited. I was. It's definitely the most adrenaline I've felt when catching a fish, and I was like, man, that's got to be like a 5 or 6 pound fish. That is huge. And I grabbed it, I pulled my my scale out, and I put it on the scale, and the number just kept going. And it was 7 pounds,
Nice.
1 ounce. I was like, God dang,
You got the little hanger scale we keep in your pack, right?
Yeah, exactly. I've got one of those fish grippers that'll clamp shut.
Oh, nice.
I've got that attached to the scale.
I don't know if I saw the grip and grin picture on that one. Did you? You post that one?
Oh, that one's definitely on Instagram.
It is, okay.
Yeah.
I must have missed that somehow.
Yeah, the big fish. But that was pretty cool. Yeah, and I took the picture and I sent it out to as many people as I could find, and then I put it on Facebook.
Tried to make as many people feel bad as you could. That's
Yeah,
good. Yeah, no, we all appreciate it, Luke.
I wanted people to see how hardcore I am fishing when it's 48 degrees and raining.
That is, man.
When it's cold like this, when you get into the winter, it's much harder to catch fish, but, so I'm told, the bigger fish are around more. It's kind of like hunting, right? When it's when the weather's funky, the rut will start to happen.
Yeah.
And that's when those bigger deer will come out.
The guys who tend to pass their jeans on more often figure it's time to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Get out of here, kids.
Exactly. But when it's cold like this, the fish aren't as aggressive. They're not as active. So, you basically have to drag something in front of their face to get them to take it. And when they do,
I totally
they don't
sympathize with that.
They don't hit it as hard. You can really feel that thump usually when you're fishing and it's spring or summertime. In the fall, when they hit that, it's just kind of like your rod tightens up.
They just don't
your
have
line
they don't
tightens.
have the
You're
energy
like,
they did.
Oh, hey, that's something's on there.
They just can't have the same amount of energy, I imagine. With
they're
warm water, they're just
more lethargic.
Yeah. Again, I totally get it. I understand where these fish are coming from. You really have, like, Thanksgiving, sometimes you just got to drag a turkey leg in front of my face to get me to chow down on it. Oh,
Exactly.
So that is my claim to fame this last Thanksgiving, and we did just have Thanksgiving. My claim to fame is that I got private kudos from Chef Luke here about my Thanksgiving spread. So we had a weird schedule that led to us having to do a brunch giving. A brunch is giving.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was fun, man. I took it as a challenge instead of I certainly wish I'd have had more wild game meat to work with. That would have been nice.
Don't we all?
I briefly considered doing a squirrel dish, but I backed off. I couldn't find a good brunch use for squirrel. I'm sure there's lots of good chefs that are going to chide me for that. But so I just didn't have as much game meat to work with. But I went with I think the star of those little quail egg crostinis. I had to search high and low for quail eggs in the city of Austin, believe it or not. Asian
that
supermarkets.
is surprising. Asian supermarket every time.
If I could shop just there, the seafood, man. Oh, the seafood selection in an
They
Asian
have
supermarket.
living seafood in those places.
Like you can get to know it first.
Yeah.
It's nice. So yeah, like I did brunch style. I did some turkey hash browns. I did some sausage stuffed Cornish game hens.
Lovely.
Yeah, man. We did it up good. And I did the classic sweet potato casserole for the kids, just threw pecans and marshmallows in there. But no, that was a good time. Now going back to fishing though, I am excited, and this was like the first thing Luke and I connected on when he came in the house. I was like, did you get the email from the Parks Department? He's like, yeah. So yeah, the email from the Parks Department.
They did Texas Parks and Wildlife all over the state is dumping rainbow trout into neighborhood ponds.
And them's good eating.
Good eating indeed, and they purdy.
Yeah, they are.
Purdy too.
They earn that name.
But they're dumping hundreds and in some cases thousands of rainbow trout into neighborhood ponds all over Texas between now and February.
Oh, dude, I'm excited. I'm not normally excited about fishing, to be totally honest, but
Mike's not big into the catch and release.
No, I like
it doesn't have enough payoff.
I like to eat things. I'm a glutton. Okay.
Clearly, I like to eat things too, Michael.
just not fish that you catch.
There's no question there.
So maybe the fish are your exercise to counter the stuff that you eat.
The difference is I'm eating Fritos while I'm throwing a bass back.
So this isn't exactly bushcraft fishing that we're pulling off.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm excited though. Like the idea of, a species that's not usually one that we're going to snag around here being available. Right. And one that we can cook up and do some fun stuff with. I'm all about it right now. So, but this is going to require, because I'm not really an angler, I just have the gear, pretty much it, and I'm on a podcast with hooks in the name, and that's about it. It's going to take some guidance. So, what am I going to be throwing at these guys? What do I need to put out there? Should I resign myself to the fly rod? Or is that just going to be too frustrating?
I wouldn't make the same mistake that you've made hunting.
What a dick.
I'm only using a bow, guys. All right, cool. I shot 3 deer last year
using
with a gun.
I'm only using a slingshot, fellas. I did buy a rifle. I finally did buy a rifle.
Yeah, so that's good. That hopefully will prove fruitful for you.
Yeah, certainly has not so far. But yeah, what am I throwing at these rainbow trout?
Yeah, light gear. You don't need a big heavy rod. You don't need a 7 foot or a 7 foot bait caster or anything like that. A nice light spinning rod will be fine. In fact, I read that the heavy tackle will actually scare them away. Huh. So you want to keep it light. Light line. I mean, you probably don't need 4, 6, 8 pound test at the most. You can throw in the email they sent. They were like corn kernels and cheese balls, and like to me, like that's like fishing for bass with live bait.
Sure.
Like, yeah, that's gonna work, and you're gonna catch them, but that takes the challenge out of it.
That doesn't bother me so much.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
So I'll be bringing some corn
and
kernels
that's how
and
I
cheese
feel
balls.
like down at the coast. Like I'll fish with live bait because I'm catching that fish to keep it and eat it.
Sure.
So
that's kind of how I feel about the trout. Honestly.
That's where it's different, right? Yeah. But I don't know that I can let myself get away from the challenge of figuring out what kind of tackle to throw.
And you just made fun of me for being a bow hunter. I just want the challenge.
That's true.
Right. Yeah,
that's true.
Like you could catch it with a piece of bologna.
Yeah, you could. But yeah, I'm probably gonna get myself some small spoons with treble hooks on them. I might get. They make little like crickets and stuff that you can get, artificial crickets that you can fish with as well. So I'll throw some of that kind of stuff on the spinning rig, and then I'm not super well versed at the fly rod. I just know I have some stuff. I'll probably go down to Living Waters or something and say, "Hey, I want to catch some trout."
That's kind of what I was thinking about doing
too. And they'll
too.
say, "Okay, here's this." And
yeah, I'm guessing that question's going to come up for them quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean they've got a lot of. It's a really cool shop. They've got a lot of bug-shaped flies.
Yeah.
That are really, really neat looking, and it's pretty impressive how they do that.
I just and as a total dork for that kind of stuff, I appreciate going in there and just looking at the craftsmanship of the flies. Like that's it's amazing. Like that's art. That's literally a type of art.
That's a bunch of string and maybe some animal hair.
Yeah, like he frayed up some string and animal hair, and that looks like a bug. Like I might eat that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's impressive. So I might try to do both. I mean, there's no length limit. But you can catch up to 5 a day. Nice.
What kind of poundage are you looking at on a rainbow trout? Do you think it'd be like what size of fish would you consider to be a good size rainbow trout?
I mean, a pound.
Really?
Is probably fine.
That's it. That's eating fish.
Yeah, I think so. I think like most animals, when they get too big, they've worked too hard their whole life.
Nasty.
Yeah, and they're not as good. So. I used to cook trout a lot in a lot of restaurants that I worked in. Yeah. And little, anywhere between 8 ounces and 12 ounces. That's good eating.
So here's what's really going to motivate me to get out. How do I prepare? If let's say I catch my 1-2 pound trout. Mm-hmm. What's a Luke what's cooking special on what's Chef Luke's recommendation on what's a good preparation for trout?
Goodness. I mean, depends on how fancy you want to get. If you want
7 fancy
on a 7, okay, let's go with a 7. You're gonna gut it, leave the skin, leave it whole.
Okay,
just gut it out and clean out the inside. Right, head on, tail on, skin on, everything. Right. You're gonna take some fresh herbs and some lemon slices. And put those inside the cavity.
When we're talking fresh herbs, tell me which fresh herbs. I need to experience this.
Okay, yeah. All right. We'll get yourself some fresh parsley, some cilantro, maybe even a little bit of mint.
Okay.
So kind of like an Italian salsa verde kind of combination.
Okay.
Right. Lemon slices in there as well.
So just whole sprig, stuff them in there. Is that what we're talking?
Just stuff them in there whole. We want to get the flavor. You're not going to end up eating the herbs. Themselves. So yeah, you can just get that stuff, put it on an oiled sheet pan, salt and pepper on the inside and the outside, and then roast it.
Now, why I see a lot in a lot of preparations, and even like native preparations of food, like in places like the Amazon, like they salt the outside of the fish a lot. What are you getting out of that? What's
The outside?
yeah? What do
Well, because
you?
you're going to eat the skin.
Oh, you're going to eat the skin.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if there was a purpose like drawing moisture out or keep moisture in or something like that. I didn't know what the point of that, but just making it delicious is the point.
Exactly.
That's not a bad point at all.
Yeah. And then if you want, on this, you've got those herbs, right? So take what you don't put in the fish, put it in a food processor. You got parsley, cilantro, mint, maybe a little basil would be fine too.
Yeah.
Throw it in a food processor with some capers, some lemon zest, some garlic, some olive oil, some salt and pepper. Buzz that up. You got yourself a nice salsa verde. A little anchovy if you got it, or anchovy paste. I keep a tube of anchovy paste.
That seems quicker.
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
So can I just throw the whole trout in the blender? And
Yeah, that's the Dan. Do you remember the Dan Aykroyd? It was an old SNL sketch they did, the Bass-O-Matic.
Yes, I do. Oh my god, I remember that.
That's what that makes
quite,
me think
it is.
of.
It is. This would just be a trout-o-matic. It'd be
Yeah.
a trout smoothie.
But yeah, throw all those herbs, some capers, some lemon, some garlic, some olive oil, salt and pepper in a food processor. Buzz it up and make that's like an Italian sort of salsa verde. And then spoon that over.
You know
the
what would be a
fish.
terrible
I'm gonna
idea
eat
is
it.
us putting this on our website.
That would be a terrible idea.
Yeah, we should never do that. Nobody in Texas cares about trout recipes right now, right?
Not at all. Not when we just said hundreds and thousands of fish.
They're invading. And they're delicious. Oh, well. Good thing we'll never get around to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I'm stoked about that. And like, the whitetail season continues to flummox me. So I think
Same.
the idea of getting meat from somewhere else might be kind of good. I did go out and rifle hunt right before Thanksgiving. We talked about this. You and I both got desperate right before Thanksgiving
Yeah.
because we're both staring down a Thanksgiving table that has no game meat on it.
venison
And that was like my fantasy all year is wanting to do that. I'm still holding out for Christmas.
Yeah.
But I did buy a rifle. I ended up getting a classic. You want to look at my dirty foot? I'm going to put it up on the desk here for you. It's just for you. I went with, I did the same thing that I do a lot of other weapons purchases. I try to do my research. I try to look at all the options out there, but I ended up going with the Remington 700.
Yeah.
What do you know? Model 700, like one of the most reliable hunting rifles out there, one of the most well known.
Yeah.
And it felt right. I like the weight. I like the way it cheek welds. I like how quick I can shoulder it. It fits. It works. And it's the operation of something I'm familiar with, and like just the balance because I shoot Remington shotguns. Yeah. Like the feel of that brand, it's little stuff like that. Now the caliber I went different. I was thinking about getting 270. Anywhere 270, 308, 30-aught. I was somewhere in that range wanting to do that. I didn't want to get much bigger than that. And I ended up going with a 6.5 millimeter.
Okay.
Which is
all the rage
It's
right
all
now.
the rage. It's the new hotness. But, when...
That's what all the kids are shooting.
They are. I am one of the cool... I'm like a hunting hipster now. Mm-hmm. That's, like I'm on the newest...
A hunster.
The newest version of Adobe Illustrator in terms of hunting is what I'm doing now. But yeah, like one of the reasons I did it was obviously, you and I, whenever I'm purchasing anything, you and I text quite a bit. And one of the big things for me is ammo availability. Right. That's big. And it seems like it's okay. It's not as good as 270 Winchester. Sure. It's not going to, but it's still out there. It's not a big deal. But the 6.5, the one thing that I really dug about it is that in testing, it does a lot of the things power wise that the 308 can do and the 270 can do. Outside of 100 yards, it maintains it packs the same kind of wallop as a 308 to a certain degree, but with less drop. And that was a big deal for me because I don't feel like my shooting has developed to where I can instinctively, build in drop over 100 yards. Right. Now, luckily, a lot of the places I'm hunting so far, I have shots on 150 yards. Yeah. Like I don't have anything super challenging on the horizon. But the thing I like is if I need to take that gun out west, like when you went out west to hunt antelope, is I can take that gun out west and the velocity of that round and the lack of drop is going to serve me well. It is even funny. A guy in the store told me like a lot of people, and he considers the 6.5 like a target round. Like a target shooting round for that. But in all the hunting testing and all the kind of the what's the best way I want to put this, like the testimonials about it from hunters that I always have to be careful too because they might have got a free lifetime supply of 6.5 to say it's the best. But a lot of the testimonies from experienced hunters is that it does the job that even a 308 does. Okay. That can handle the job that a 308 does, and most definitely a 270. So it's kind of touted as like the the next 270, the next Winchester
Like 270 plus.
Yeah, but it ends up doing a lot of the job that a 308 can do.
Okay.
Now, obviously, in point blank, you're not going to have the kind of power you get from 308. You're
Sure.
not. It's just a lighter round. It's not going to happen. But 140 grain, 6.5 millimeter is anything up to, an elk. And even a lot of people are hunting elk with a 6.5.
Yeah.
It's going to do the job. It's just you have to be able to shoot worth the shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Turns out that's a big part of the deal. So I was very happy with it. I spent a long day with it on the range, getting it dialed in.
Good.
And, the fiction is that when you get these things with a scope installed, it's got kind of a garbage scope on it right now, and I'm going to replace it. But the fiction is that, it's that scope is at least bore sighted. It'll be close, and you need to dial it in. Could not be further from the truth.
Not even close?
I started at 100 yards. Should have started at 50, but I just assumed, okay, I'm going to be on the paper
Sure.
at 100. And, the first the first magazine, just first 5 shots, was like, there's nothing on that paper at all.
Not even on paper?
Not even on the paper. So I had to aim. I went all the way high, all the way low, all the way right, all the way left. And the shot all the way left, finally, I had a little tear on the right side of the paper. So I was you have to think a good 24 inches
Yowzers.
off. So I had to take it into 50 and just crank. Finally got it dialed in pretty good, but took it out, didn't see a soul. Not
Man.
even just didn't have a shot. Never saw anything Thanksgiving week.
I went out the day before Thanksgiving, had a doe come through before legal shooting light. I mean, I couldn't even see her through the scope. It was so dark. I could just see her with my eyes.
Right.
Then nothing. Nothing that evening. The next morning, Thanksgiving morning, I went out. Had a doe jump the fence. She was kind of in my range. She was a little bitty. But she took 5 steps past the fence, and she knew something wasn't right. So I turned around and went off.
She smelled you.
Something. I don't know. But
How far out were you?
from that doe, 50 yards probably.
She might have smelled you.
However, 30 minutes later, I see something coming down the fence line, and I notice it's a buck. I can't tell how big he is. He jumps the fence in the exact same spot that doe came. And he walks straight in front of me, and his rack is perfectly perpendicular to me. So I'm looking at him straight from the side.
Can't see the spread.
I can't see the spread, so I can't tell. And it's not that I'm antler chasing, right? I got to make sure he's legally at least 13 inches wide. And I can tell he's not obviously not a 4 or 5 year old deer. He doesn't have a big old neck. But it's a shooter deer.
Yeah.
And he just never turns to look at me. By the time he finally does, and I'm like, okay, it's an 8-point and he's good to go. He never stopped. Just never stopped. And I'm up in a stand 20 feet in the air trying to swivel this chair and trying to line up the scope, and
right.
He just never stops moving. And I even went, I was like, this has never worked, and I was like, just trying to catch his attention, and he was...
Nothing to do with it.
I mean, so he was probably 75 yards away from me, maybe close to 100. No, 75 yards. He ran right by the feeder. The feeder had gone off already. He didn't even stop. He didn't even care about that.
That's a sign rutting's happening.
He was on the move for something.
Yeah, you know what he's on the move for.
Yeah. And I wasn't going to try to shoot him moving. I don't feel confident in myself to do that.
That's fair.
And I was just kicking myself. Kicking myself constantly that, I don't know. If I would have just shot him when he was there and I had the shot without knowing the spread.
Telling a different story right now. Ain't that much.
Well, yeah, but I also could have shot him and then got down to get him, and his antlers are only 10 inches apart, and
right.
Now I've got a moral and legal dilemma on my hands.
Or you just got to trim his ears so it looks like his...
He looked like it. I
don't know. Why his ears all bloody? I don't know. It's the rut.
Yeah.
They go...
Barbed wire fence, maybe?
Sure, let's go with that. The only close encounter I've had, and it actually gives me hope because I was, again, after the rifle hunting fails, and it's hard to call it a fail. It's just there's nothing out there that day. But I was frustrated. I was really down on hunting, and I just, it's because it's frustrating. It's a slow burn hobby, and you and I don't have all the time to do it that we want to because we're normal, working stiffs.
Or the land.
Or the land, plain and simple. Yeah, we're guesting on other places or doing public land when we can, and just don't have the time to walk out every morning and check. And I was down, but when I got out to the blind at my public land spot, Lake Georgetown, it was a weird morning, and it certainly didn't help my early attitude. Weird afternoon. I went out for an afternoon sit, and I went, and the feeder was jammed,
cool,
and low, so it wasn't. It looked like there was still corn on the ground, so it was okay, recent corn, but the blind had blown over.
Awesome.
Yeah, had blown over completely, and it was all the brushing in I'd done was kind of ruined, so I had to make a ton of noise, checking all that, set it back up. I figured I'd just pull the camera.
Which is really good for hunting.
It's good for bringing them in.
Yeah.
When they know there's a lot of noise in their territory, they're like, let's go eat there.
Yeah, let's go see what's going on, guys.
It's like when, you hear there's a shooting at an Italian restaurant, you're like, you know what, I could use some lasagna. I'm like, they're not going to go for it. But I ended up getting in. I just wanted to sit, and I even texted in to my wife. I said, this will be a relaxing sit. Is what it's going to be because it's a mess.
Some time alone to think.
And but sure enough, I'm sitting there, and as I'm bitching and moaning to myself, I pop in the memory card that I pull from the camera, which I never do. I never get it before I hunt because I don't want to be all over getting my scent all over everything. I look at the past 3 days, and there's two mature does that have been coming every day at around 5:40. And I look at the clock on my phone. I'm like, that's now. So I get all head up, and I put my phone down, and I'm not shitting you. Within 10 seconds of that happening,
whoa!
The little snort, the doe alarm, the snort wheeze, and behind me.
Of course.
And this is the place where when I took Ashley out one time, she swore she saw a flash of tail back there one time, and we tried to stalk that a little bit. And I was always like, okay, I trust you. But now for real, that was the spot it came from. They came, and they saw the stands back up, and maybe something smells.
Yeah.
And she threw out the 2 alarms. It wasn't like and then run. If she just stood there. It was a curiosity call.
Yeah.
It was like, look, check it out. And then they just never came to eat. But that gives me hope.
Yeah.
If I can keep that blind up and to where it doesn't disturb them.
Yeah.
They're there. They're coming to check. So if I get out early enough before sundown, get in, sneak in quiet, really take my time, really do good scent control, and I'm starting to really think that may be an issue because I'm so close out there.
Right.
Remember that? I don't know if you remember from our previous conversation. That blind is 15 yards.
Well, you also something I've learned about recently in watching some videos that the hunting public that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Those guys are awesome. Something that I've learned about in watching them is your ground scent. So where you come in from.
Yeah, good point.
Leaves a trail. So if they're coming in or crossing the path of where you come in from, then they're gonna pick up on that. And what these guys in the episodes that I've watched, they say that the does seem to pick up on it more than the bucks. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's just a rut, and specifically in the rut, the bucks are just concerned about something else. But they say they'll pick up on your ground scent. So if you know where they're coming in from, you need to come a big circle around that and not be crossing paths with where they're coming from. And I don't know, based on where you are and all that kind of stuff, if you are already doing that.
That's an interesting point, though.
But if they're coming in the same way you are, they're going to pick it up when you come through.
Well, especially in, you've got ground scent, but also in Central Texas, you got young cedar that's right at your level, and you have to brush through it. Mm-hmm. You have to rub yourself
stir it up
all over that, and I'm sure they can smell that.
Yeah,
and that's right at their nose level. Then they're walking through. They're like, oh, that doesn't smell right.
Well, and if you're keeping your your hunting clothes in the house, it's picking up all those smells in your house.
Yeah, I'm bad about that.
Your boots, too. Your boots should live on the back porch.
My boots do.
At the very least, if you put that stuff outside overnight, before you get up that morning to go out.
Yeah.
That will help.
Yeah, I'm bad about that because I get lazy and just like, I'll dump it on the floor. As long as I don't wash it, it's fine.
But then, if you're going to wear it in the truck driving out there and you're drinking coffee in the truck, then your whole thing smells like coffee.
I change when I get out there now for that reason.
But yeah, there you go.
Because I realize that like I'm eating or snacking or drinking coffee out there. It's like, wait a minute, I'm blowing air from an engine all over myself. Like,
right.
We've talked about like I don't know how much mythology there is behind scent control, but when you're bow hunting within 15 yards of your target, I think you need to take it into account a lot more.
If you're sitting in a stand 20 feet in the air, or you're in a box blind 100 yards away, it's not as big of a deal. You still want to try to do your best to set yourself right. You want to be downwind of that, but of your angle. But another thing is with those pop-up blinds, they come with those little cheap ass tent sticks. Got a spring for the big 12-inch plastic tent spikes.
Yeah, and I get you, but
they're really digging the ground.
I'm pounding into solid rock no matter what I do.
Yeah,
it's right near Lake Georgetown. So
that's true.
Yeah, I tied into the tree, which I think will help. I tied it off to the tree next to it, which I think will help. But weather changes that.
Because I had the same thing opening weekend. I went to get in my blind and it was blown off on its side.
Yeah, I remember that. And we had all the flooding too,
and it was full of water too. Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, hey, if you have not, if you haven't checked this out yet, make sure you go to camoandhooks.com. We have our first official Camo and Hooks hunting hat available for pre-sale. We're about to close this pre-sale down. We've kind of reached the point where we don't want to delay people getting their stuff, but get in there, get that hat for pre-sale. It looks good if you want to see a super, super serious picture of Luke out west, like with his most intense Chef Luke face.
My steely blue eyes.
Yeah, man, it did something to me, I'm telling you. But yeah, go grab that right now. You can also find all the old episodes of Camo and Hooks on camoandhooks.com. Make sure you subscribe to us. That way you can know when these episodes are hitting. We're not the best at being on a schedule, but we're getting better all the time.
Yeah.
We're getting there. So, and like we always say, if you want to ask us a question, leave a review on iTunes. That's the best way to reach us. Luke and I will both see it. We both obsessively check all that stuff. We just need to know what you think of us.
Yeah.
Just need to know how you feel.
We need some positive affirmation.
We do. Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah.
Follow us on Instagram, Camo and Hooks. You can see all Luke's grip and grin pictures, and you can see me once in a while sweating shirtless in a blind. I think that's the real treat behind following us on Instagram. So, yeah. What else you got, man? You got anything else going on right now? Or
I'm waiting on confirmation of an invite out to West Texas.
Ooh, there's some big land out there, right?
Yeah, potentially hunt on a 3,000-acre ranch that has some exotics and stuff. So fingers crossed.
Fine, I'll do it. I'll go with you. Fine.
Fingers crossed on that. Gonna hit my mom's place up as many times as I can between now and the end of the season.
Yeah.
And hope to get some meat in the freezer.
Good. And I'm going to try to hit that stalk hunt out at Lake Georgetown sometime soon, I think. Just for the fun. Just go walk around, see what we can scare up.
Might as well.
It's going to be fun. All right. Well, then we will talk to you guys soon.
Bye.